Hi there, and welcome to the Refresh Renovations Introductory webinar. The aim of this webinar session is to give you enough information on the business to make a decision as to whether you would like to attend a full discovery day. The webinar is not going to go into the level of detail that we will do on a discovery day. The discovery day is a lot more in depth, and we go into a lot of the elements that we speak about in this webinar in a lot more detail. And you have the chance to ask a lot of questions and get some answers to those on the day as well. The webinar session would normally last around 3 to 3.5 hours, whereas this session is probably going to last about half an hour or so. So much more of a top line overview of the business, but as I say, it should give you enough information to really whet your appetite and get you excited and along to one of the discovery days. So we're going to dive straight in, and I'm going to let you know a little bit about myself. So I'm presenting today, and my name is Vincent Smith. I'm the Refresh UK General Manager, so I head up the business over here in the UK. My background, I was 20 years in a corporate role, and towards the end of that, more recently, as the marketing director for a global FTSE 100 retailer. It was a £5 billion business. And probably most interesting for yourselves and informing the discussions that we're going to have today and going forwards. I'm a Refresh franchise owner. I came into the business purchasing a franchise. I love the business. I'm very excited about the business. I hope that comes across. And yeah, I know not only about the operations of the overall business in the UK, I really understand the detail of what it takes and what is involved in running a Refresh franchise. So hopefully that background is going to be useful for you as we continue our discussions. So we're going to start with what is the Refresh business, and we're going to show you in a bit of a model. Our overall aim is to enable our franchisees to build a scalable business in the renovations market. We like to look at that scale as being around the £1.5 million mark in around 3 to 4 years. So that's the aim, that's the overall goal of our business. Everything in the business is set up to enable our franchisees to achieve that goal. How do we do that? So there's a few elements of how we enable that to happen. But for this to exist, there needs to be some external factors that come into play. And those two factors in this market are, there's a market gap. In residential renovations, there is a market gap. We're going to explore that a bit further. Also, there's a massive consumer demand. So there's a demand for what we are offering. And to build that business, we need to address that market gap, and we also need to solve the consumer demand. So those are two aspects we're going to talk about quite a bit today. In terms of how Refresh as a business enables our franchise partners to build that £1.5 million business, there's a few elements. We call these our 3 pillars of support. The first of those pillars is the product and the process, how we address that consumer demand. What products do we use? What offering do we have which solves that consumer demand? And that's the central pillar. Enable to meet that consumer demand and then enable to deliver that product and that process, we have a suite of systems and IT platforms, and that's our second pillar. And in order to speak to our customers in the first place, we have a large-scale lead generation activity going on. We're going to go into a bit more detail on that lead generation later. But these are our 3 pillars of success in any Refresh renovations business. And these are underpinned. These have a support and a foundation of our training and support program. And we class that as an always on and all that you can eat training and support program. So this is what the overall Refresh model looks like. So we're going to go into the detail of those external demands, and we're going to start with that market gap. So Refresh operates in a market that we believe has a gap, and we're going to to show you why. So as a comparison, when we look at the UK, we're going to start by looking at the fast food market in the UK. So it's a market we've all partaken with at some point, and it's an enormous market. It's £15 billion every year in the UK is spent on fast food. Who meets the demands of that market? We know the names. They're big, consolidated business. The market is big enough to support lots and lots of large-scale, consolidated businesses within this market, as well as lots of regional, smaller players as well. So that is a £15 billion market that's serviced by those big brands and the regional players. Not much room for additional consolidation. That market's been consolidated. There are the big players there already. So when we look at that market versus the residential renovations market in the UK, this is a £26 billion a year market spent on residential renovations. And in comparison to the fast food market, if we look at the consolidation, the big brands operating in this £26 billion market, there are none. Refresh Renovations is the first business globally, nationally, to build a scalable model in the renovations market. So there is a £26 billion opportunity that Refresh is addressing that nobody else has addressed as yet. As well as the market opportunity, there is a consumer need for a better service in this market. So it's not just that everybody is spending this money in this market and they're very happy and there's no problems. There are enormous problems in this market. You will know yourselves, whether you've gone through it, whether you know somebody that's gone through it. Residential renovations are an enormous headache for consumers. There is a lack of trust in the people and the businesses that they engage with, and they do not believe that that process will go smoothly, will go efficiently, and they are correct. We know that 35% of projects go over their time schedule. We know that 40% of projects go over their budget. So as a consumer, when you enter this market, when you're looking to spend what are very large sums of money on a project that is very personal to you, your trust or your expectation is that you are going to have problems. You are going to have unforeseen costs, unforeseen delays. And this drives what we see as a global number, which is that 40% of renovations end in a dispute. And in any market outside of residential renovations, that would be a completely unacceptable and unsustainable level of customer service. So Refresh is really about meeting the market gap and the consumer need for a better service in that market gap. How do we do that? We have a globally proven model. So this model is not a new model. It's not a model that we're testing. This model is proven time and time again on consumer projects across the globe. The business started in 2010 in New Zealand, and we have 45 franchisees operating in New Zealand now. The maximum capacity for franchisees in New Zealand is 70, so we expect to reach that market saturation point there very soon. And the market size there is £4 billion a year. The business consequently moved then into Australia, and that was established in 2015. We have 15 franchisees in Australia, and the target's 150 franchisees, and they're servicing a market worth £10 billion a year. In the UK, we established in 2018. We have 7 franchisees now in the UK, and they are based in South West London, South London, in Surrey, Bristol, Cambridgeshire, Nottinghamshire, and in Manchester. The target for the UK, based on a market size of £26 billion a year, is 500 franchisees. And more recently, at the start of 2019, we began trading in the USA. So we established there about a year ago. We have 4 franchisees operating in the region now, and the target there, based on a market size of 120 billion, is 2,000 franchisees. So the capacity for growth, both in our market and across the globe, is vast still. We're already the market leader globally. We are the biggest residential renovations business in the world in quite a short space of time. I want to talk to you about our partners. One of the preconceptions is that to be a Refresh Renovations franchise owner, you should have a trade background, and that is not the case. So a good example here is Kelly. Kelly is our franchisee in the Surrey area. Our franchisees come from a very diverse background and knowledge base. So we tend to see our most successful franchisees are people that have been in management roles, people that have been in marketing, people that have been in sales, that have been in IT, a very vast range of backgrounds. Really, the key to being a successful Refresh franchisee is not a specific background, but individuals that are business driven, that are ethical, and that are customer focused. They are the key attributes we look for in our franchise partners. And in terms of the work that our franchisees carry out, again, a very vast range of work. We say that we would add value to any project where there are multiple trades involved. So that could go anywhere from bathrooms and en-suites to kitchens, loft conversions, interior remodelings, extensions, individual new builds, exteriors and landscaping. So any project which has multiple trades involved, Refresh will add value to that process and that project. And some examples of projects that we've carried out in the UK. This was a bathroom. The cost for the bathroom was around £10,000, and this was a 20-week project, not just for the bathroom, but this was part of a larger project to renovate an entire first floor, and that total job came in at circa £90,000. Kitchens, a good staple for our franchisees. This particular project was an £18,000 project, and this was a 3-week project. To the other end of the scale, a very large project that we undertook in the Surrey area. This was a £550,000 project. Refresh managed the entire thing from design all the way through to build, and this was a 38-week project. As we say, it was the entire house fully stripped back and rebuilt, the exterior, rendering, landscaping. So the entire project was undertaken by one of our franchisees, a very large project as well. We touched upon the consumer needs. Everything is kind of irrelevant unless we're really delivering a different product and process to our consumers, to our customers. And the amount of great reviews that we receive as a business is really testament to that. If we take the 40% complaint rate for traditional trade-based suppliers in the renovations market, Refresh has a 99% customer satisfaction rate. So a complete night and day comparison to the existing model and the Refresh model. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the journey that you're going to go on as a potential franchise partner within the business, and what that journey looks like, what to expect, and how long it might take. So we're really at the introduction stage right now, kind of the introductory conversation and webinar stage. Your next step is going to be the discovery day, where we go through a lot more detail on everything we've spoke about today. We issue you with information packs, and at the end of that stage, you're going to make a decision on whether moving forward into due diligence is the right thing for yourself. And at the due diligence stage, we're really going to delve into the details of the business, the financials, the legals. We're going to go through the systems demonstrations with you, You're going to ask a load of great questions as part of that due diligence. We're going to make sure that you speak to some franchisees to get a real understanding of how they run their business. And then we're going to start looking at getting into the legal documentation. So we'll go through some assessments on yourself and make sure you're a fit and proper business owner within Refresh, do some final interviews, and then go through to the final contracts. And the last stage, exciting, is the trading stage. So you're awarded your franchise. We do the onboarding sessions with you, the training sessions with you, and most importantly, you start to receive your first leads. Everybody's different, but we tend to see that people move through this process within about 3 to 4 months. So it's a fairly swift process. It can be as quick or as long as you want, but the average progress tends to be around that 3 to 4 month period. We want to talk to you a little bit as well about how we manage the regionality of our franchising business. We looked at the franchising model, the traditional franchising model for regionality, and the view that we had was that it was a very antiquated model. It has existed for decades, and it didn't work for the modern day way of running businesses, the digital way of running businesses. So the traditional franchising regionality model, it's very small. It's based on very restrictive regionality lines. So a very small opportunity. It's location based. It's not customer based. And really what that type of regionality model drives is a low collaboration rate between franchisees and drives a high competition rate. So we believe that this is an antiquated model, and we set about to change how we look at that. So the Refresh franchising regionality looks like this. It's large, it's non-restrictive, so we look at regions based on their renovation spend, not necessarily their region size. And essentially we say that we can support a franchisee for every £50 million worth of spend in a region. So the regions are aligned to the value and not the geographical size of a region. Our regions are based on customer lifetime value. So our CRM systems register our customers, align them to franchisees, and customers stay with franchisees. They're your customer for life. So you get the full value of your relationship with that customer over the lifetime of their renovation spend and as they move to new houses and so on. And really key to the regionality model is it promotes a level of collaboration between our franchisees, a very high level of collaboration between our franchisees, whether that might be on marketing activity, whether that might be on sharing resources, sharing office space. So it drives low competition and high collaboration. So that's why we believe our regionality is the way forward for franchising regions rather than the antiquated system that has been run very restrictively. The regionality is an important point when we start looking at the costs for setting your business up. So the purchase of the initial business is dependent on your position in region. So we believe that first movers in region should have a financial advantage. So we run a tiered purchase price package. So starts at 30,000 for the first in region and moves up from there for the second, third, and so on entries into the region. It's a very low purchase investment. It's also a very low operational investment. So to set the business up, you're not going to be looking to spend the same again on stock and premises. There are very few setup costs after the initial purchase price. Equally, the monthly operational overheads are very low. You can run the business quite easily on around £1,000 to £2,000 a month. The more realistic number, I believe, is going to be around £1,200 a month. So there's no premise costs, there's no stock costs. It's a very low operational overhead business. We run a lead by revenue model, which means we're not entering into large fixed costs without the confidence of work coming in. So revenue leads our decision to invest in overheads. So a very lean operational business. And the theme continues into the royalties. Very competitively within the franchising market, our franchise royalties are 7% of gross revenue. It's very competitive in the franchising market. And equally, we talk about the lead by revenue model. Franchise royalties are based on cash received rather than invoices. So lead by revenue at all stages. I'm going to finish with a few frequently asked questions. So these are questions that are asked of myself and the team here at Refresh fairly regularly when people are starting to introduce themselves to the business. So we believed it would be of value for us to go through some of these questions and answer them for you on this session. One of the first questions that we have from people is, quite rightly, what do I receive? When I buy this business, what do I receive? Well, the number one answer is you are buying an asset. You are buying an asset that will appreciate in value, much like a property or any other value appreciating asset. The more you put into this asset, the more you receive out. So you are in control of driving the value of this asset in terms of building your business. So that is the first thing that you're buying. You're buying a business, you're buying a business asset that is going to appreciate in value. Operationally, you're buying a business model from a global leader, not just in the franchising market, but the global leader in this market, the only consolidated brand in this market, and a proven business model globally. And that's based on those pillars of success that we looked at earlier, and they are the processes, they are the systems, and they are the lead generation that help you to build that £1.5 million business. You're going to have a startup package. We've touched on the fact that there's no large additional costs when you set your business up particularly, and the startup package is part of the purchase. And that's going to be marketing materials, that's going to be branding for your vehicle, that's going to be uniform, load of other stuff that is all included in that startup package. We talked about the foundations of the process and the systems and the lead generation, and that is the market leading training, support and benchmarking that we offer on an all-you-can-eat and always-on basis. Again, one we've touched on briefly when we were looking at the backgrounds of our franchise partners is, do I need to have building skills and knowledge? It's a preconception that people have. I need to know how to build, and I need to know how to be a builder, and I need to know how to talk like a builder to run a Refresh business. The simple answer is no. This is a management-led franchise business. You're not training yourself up just to sell your time and being restricted by the capacity of your time. It's a management-led business. So as a Refresh franchise owner, you run the business, you scale the business, and the technical work is carried out by your teams. In fact, the only thing you should be able to build is a business. So, very simple answer to that one. Which brings us on to, how do I staff my business up? So how do I find my builders, my architects, my project managers? How do I find those technical people that I'm going to need to carry out these projects? We touched on leading by revenue. Very much every project is different, and you're going to need a different skill set for every project. So Refresh is based on subcontracting in the right people at the right time for the right project. And we will help you do that. But one of the key ways of finding your staff, finding your teams and building your teams is creating relationships at a local level. There is nothing that is better than meeting people, talking to people, building relationships up, selling them the story of the business, selling them the benefits of the business. And there are a lot of benefits for subcontractors when they work with Refresh. When you consider their utilisation rates will be at around 40 to 50% of their time is utilised as paid. Refresh can drive their utilisation to 80-90%. So there are enormous benefits for subcontractors in working with Refresh, and building relationships and explaining that is the best way to build your teams. That said, there's plenty of central supports to help you to do that. Whether that is helping you identify the right people, whether that is helping you to engage those people, whether that's helping you to pre-qualify those trades as being correct for the job, whether that is helping to then engage them on a contractual basis. These are all elements that head office will support you with. In addition to this, we also have recruitment partners, and these partners will help you to find people when you cannot find them yourself based on relationships and local contacts. So if you have immediate needs, if you have emergency needs, if you have needs where you may have identified that you're going to have a shortcoming of resource in your area, these partners will take a brief from you and they will help you to resource to those projects. Another key question we get asked is, where do my leads come from? As we see it, we have four pots of lead generation, four main pots of lead generation, and they are the brand and the national marketing activities. So if we take the most important of those, we have a world-leading website. No competitor in your market will have the power of the digital platform that Refresh Renovations have. And that is a key element of lead generation. Other elements of the brand and national marketing, the call centres that receive calls regularly from customers briefing jobs into us, the database that we run, we're continually remarketing to that database you build up in that CRM system, on email and so forth, and they're generating consistent leads coming through from your customers. National social marketing, all of the print materials we're going to give you to help you to go out to customers and be able to sell the Refresh process to them. That's all captured in the brand and national marketing. The local marketing, this is part of the overhead structure we talked about you earlier. So we're going to ask every franchisee to invest a certain amount of money generating leads locally on a monthly basis in their regions. That can be spent however you like. You could spend it on newspapers, leaflets, home shows, seminars, however you see fit to spend that money. However, most franchisees ask us to manage that for them, and we have an agency that carries out Google and Facebook paid online advertising on a geographically targeted basis for our franchisees globally. So a lot of franchisees will choose to utilize that resource and use this pretty much as a set and forget activity. They can just invest that money and the leads come in for them automatically, and there's no other work for them to do. Equally, if you want to do some stuff locally, whether it's leaflets, newspapers, whatever it might be, home shows, head office will support you to build the marketing materials that you need to execute those campaigns. We've touched on the value of relationships, and this is equally prevalent in lead generation as well. So by going out and building these relationships with subcontractors and trades, you will be creating word of mouth, you will be creating awareness about your business, and you will be getting leads from those relationships. Relationships outside of the subcontractors that a lot of our franchisees choose to leverage, the likes of estate agents, the likes of trade suppliers, the likes of bathroom and kitchen showrooms. These are all great relationships that you can go out and build, and they will generate leads for you on a local basis as well. Probably one of the most important and effective channels of lead generation is essentially a effect of you continuing to carry out projects and build your awareness in your local areas. And this is repeat and referral customer work. So customers coming back for additional jobs and customers referring you to friends and family. And they are the most valuable channel of leads. And that is a effect which builds up and builds up over time. Very, very much a consequence of doing work in your area, and a very powerful channel for lead generation. What is the potential of the business? A regular question, and a question that really is down to yourself as a business owner. What do you want the business to achieve for you? What would you aim for it to achieve for you? That might be financial, it might be a lifestyle KPI, it might be more of a goal-orientated objective. So essentially it's down to you what you would like the business to deliver for you, and that can be achieved through this business. Financially, we can talk to you about some averages in terms of what we see performance-wise across the business. And we've talked about the 1.5 million turnover. So that's the kind of target we like to see maturer franchises achieving around years 3 to 4. How that washes down into margins. So we see the average gross margin across the business coming at about 34%. And the average net margin at 12%. This varies very much over franchisee and over timelines and operating periods and so on, but these are the averages across the business that we see. So I just want to do a final wrap up, a summary of what I took out of these presentations and my introduction to the business when I was looking at the franchise opportunity with Refresh. These were very much my findings, and these are what I would hope that you've seen today and you'll take out of today as well. This is a massive market. It's a market with zero consolidation. I refer to it as a market with tens of thousands of competitors and no competitors all at the same time. There is nobody in the market doing what we are doing in terms of combining our processes, our leveraging of scale, and consolidating a single brand in this market. Nobody is doing what we are doing. So we have no competitors, and the market is enormous. There's a real strong consumer need for a better process and a better solution on how they engage suppliers in the residential renovations market. The current model is broken. It will remain broken, and Refresh is the answer to those problems. Refresh will give the consumers what they need to have comfort and trust in the residential renovations market. So there's a strong consumer need, and Refresh addresses that need directly. How we address that need is a proven model, and it's a management-led model which enables us to scale the business, which is why we can build a big brand in this market. That model is based on our 3 pillars of success, and that is our processes, our systems, and our lead generation. And those pillars of success are supported and underpinned by our always on, all that you can eat, training, support, and the collaboration that we drive between our franchisees. Importantly, this is a low entry and low running cost business. We've seen the numbers, they are very competitive, and this is a business that requires a minimal investment to get it up and running, to build a very successful business. Perhaps most importantly is the way that we have structured the business leaves an enormous amount of room for franchisees to grow. At the numbers that we've looked at upon maturity, we still have 97% of the £26 billion market to go for. So there is enormous room for growth for those that want to continue to scale their business up. They have the opportunity to do so through Refresh. And I'll just wrap up with a reminder on where you guys are currently at on the process of your application or interest in finding out more about a Refresh Renovations business. We're still at the introduction stage, so we've now had the webinar. Your next step is a discovery day. On that discovery day, we're going to go into loads more detail on everything that we've talked about today and more. You will leave that with a very informative information pack, and that will help you to decide whether Refresh is the right opportunity for you to explore further into due diligence and progress your interest into building a business with Refresh Renovations. And that's it from me, guys. Thank you very much for taking the time to find out more about Refresh Renovations. I hope that I have demonstrated, number one, how exciting this opportunity is. I hope that you have got a feeling of my excitement for this opportunity and for this business. I've gone from a franchisee to investing in Refresh overall as a business and running the business in the UK. I've worked for very dynamic businesses before, and I can quite satisfactorily say that Refresh is the most exciting business opportunity I've ever seen. It is almost unheard of to see a market that does not have this consolidation and does not have this management-led approach opportunity that is of the size it is. And all of those things combined make me believe that Refresh Renovations is one of the most exciting businesses that you will come across. And I hope that you share that passion and that enthusiasm. And if you do, I'd really look forward to meeting you on a discovery day soon and hopefully working together to help build a business in the renovations market. Many thanks again and take care. Goodbye and speak soon.